Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Iron Lily. It is Friday, April 15th, 2022. Next Saturday, not Saturday tomorrow, but the one after, is my birthday. Tomorrow, though, is a full moon. Apparently, it's in Libra. Oh my gosh. I I am just a little overwhelmed. My period was late a little bit. And then when I kind of thought it was just gonna sync up with the full moon kind of thing, because sometimes it does that. It was getting shorter on a shorter cycle. So I was really getting used to, like, the rage hormones before actually getting my period. And I didn't really experience that beforehand until, well, this morning. And yeah, it's not fun. It's really not fun. Like, for any of you who don't get rage hormones, I never used to really deal with them. Like, I get, maybe a little hot and flustered, and maybe I didn't fully see what it was, but because I've learned to relax so much more in my life, yeah, it's definitely a whole other experience. I woke up this morning. I somehow didn't get anything on the bed, but I woke up to, I know this is TMI, but I woke up to a waterfall between my legs, and it just came yesterday. Like, my period just started yesterday, and so I'm like half asleep. I like jump in the shower, fucking, just do that kind of shit. My face is swollen just from allergies, and I should have put the fan in there last night to help flow and circulate. And it's shit. And I just ran out of lady things yesterday, and I was planning on getting some today, but after I woke up, I was still doing kind of decent, and then I went to make breakfast, and I mean, it wasn't the healthiest breakfast. I'm kind of on a really tight budget right now. And so it's like one of those like microwavable meals, like the little ones in boxes, kind of like, I don't know. But it was actually looking really good. Like, I even put real cheese in there, and I was getting excited, and I was fucking hungry. And I pull it out of the fucking microwave, and I'm trying to take, like, the top of the fucking thing off, because, like, you peel it. And fucking it drops off the counter and all over the floor. And I was just so angry and so upset. And then that's the one thing that, like, this is kind of why I want to talk about it, is this is the one thing that can become very frustrating. And I think, like, before I really understood that and I mellowed out the rest of my life, I wasn't able to see how much, like, this hormonal rage ties into, like, a lot of the negative thinking I had about myself and stuff, because, my brain is, like, pissed off, right? I'm so angry. I'm like, fuck this. Like, oh my god. Like, you know what? Fuck it. And then I cleaned it up, and I was cleaning up the floor, and I was putting in a garbage bag, and of course I'm just, like, livid, because I'm like, fuck, like, I don't really have enough to replace it right now. And just, I was like, I can't, like, I just can't. And then I went into the bathroom to wash my hands because they were covered in lasagna. And fucking, of course, I look in the mirror and I start picking myself apart. And I'm like, my hair, my face, just everything. And I'm just like, no, like, I can't do this, right? And I got really overwhelmed. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that, because especially, like I said, after calming down the rest of my life and really working on that, when this hormonal rage comes up, it's so annoying, because it's not something I can control, you know? At least when I'm angry and stuff, like, I can give myself space to vent, or even with myself, like, allow myself to process and feel the anger, and then it goes away. But when it's your hormones, just everything makes you want to rage. Like, even just sitting here, just my body, the way it feels, at least, like, and then the thing is, at least the nice thing is that, you know, normally it works out that I get this rage before my period, and then it goes away when I get my period, because, like, getting your period is a whole other fiasco, because, honestly, don't get me wrong, I love it in the sense of, you know, I love my body, I'm proud of it, and one day I'm going to be able to hopefully have kids, and, you know, but also at the same time, like, there's just so much that goes into it, like, fucking, because, like, also, like, you don't know how much you're gonna bleed, you know, sometimes it's more, like, last night before I went to bed, it wasn't that bad, so I thought I was gonna be fine. I wake up this morning, and, like, it was actually scaring me, because I've never had something like that happen before, and I've had to take iron twice, yesterday and today, because when I wake up, especially after, you know, I just wake up and stuff, and I just, like, if I have really low iron, and it's just strange for me, you know, because, like, I was really in this whole cycle of really getting used to my period and feeling great, but, you know, I kind of knew it was going to sync up with the full moon, which I don't mind, you know, and at least it's this weekend instead of next weekend on my birthday. That would have sucked, but, yeah, no, it was just before it was nicely synced up, where, like, you know, it's just, yeah, it's frustrating. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about it, like, because, like, I grew up, like, the only, like, knowledge I got besides sex ed class was I'm not allowed to use tampons, and I'm only allowed to use pads, and I wasn't allowed to change my pad that often, because apparently it was too expensive, even though they were fucking, you know, quote unquote comfortable and shit, which is so fucked up, which I learned later on. But honestly, my favorite method is fucking paper towel. Paper towel is so much better, especially for me, because, like, especially because the weather here has been so up and so down. It's been, like, really, really cold. Like, it weirdly snowed a few days ago, like, while it was 8 degrees, like, and then it's, like, freaking really warm, and that's really starting to mess with, like, my own internal temperature, and then just mixed with the hormones, and just everything, and like, this isn't, like, a whining rant. I want to say that now. This is you know what, like, this is real talk, and, you know, I'm gonna make sure that, you know, on the title it says it's regarding periods, and, you know, all that shit, but fuck, man, like, it's not talked about enough. Like, I went to the store and I embarrassed myself a little bit. There was a girl at the counter, and I said, "Hey, I know this is a little TMI, but do you have any, like, tips for, like, rage hormones?" Because that's what I'm just gonna call it, rage hormones. She looked at me kind of funny, didn't really say anything, and then our interaction was done. But you know, like, I just, like, it frustrates the fuck out of me, because, like, you know, I feel like if I had, like, a group of girlfriends who I could be like, "Oh my god, guys, like, I'm feeling, like, raged out to the max. I feel like a werewolf." I feel like having girls who are friends who understand that to laugh about this kind of shit with would be dope. But also at the same time, it's kind of a difficult thing for me, because, like, I don't fully like myself to be around people when I feel like this, because, like, I feel so out of control. It's not like I'm, like, screaming from the rooftops, you know, like, beating people up and slashing people's tires. It's just, you know, especially, like, since, like, becoming more calm, just in general, you know what I mean? Like, like, it's so strange to me because, like, I'm so used to, like, being in fight or flight or being stressed out or being traumatized almost every single day. Until my period came and then all that stuff happened. It wasn't such a big difference. It was like, I'm a little bit more bitchy. I can stand up for myself. But now that I've literally been relaxing and taking care of myself and, you know, not spending any time with people who cause drama, not like making sure that I balance myself and I don't overstimulate myself and that I'm not getting overwhelmed by people or situations and I'm able to remain relatively calm. That has been such a great thing for me. But the thing is, though, this is probably my first period in a while that I've been a rage monster. And I'm really thinking, honestly, it has to do with the fact that I'm bleeding while it's happening, you know what I mean? Because that just adds a whole other problem, because then, like, part of you feels kind of like me, like, I feel a little bit dirty sometimes. It's not so much of, like, it's dirty, don't get me wrong, like, I love my body, I love, the things it does, but to constantly, like, have to keep, like, changing out a pad or, something else, because, like, if you just sit there with yourself without anything, like, I can do that at home and I have things in place to not fuck up any furniture. But, like, even, like, a pad and shit, like, that's hot. Like, especially if your hormones make you warmer. Like, mine really do, honestly. Like, especially when I get frustrated, that's how I know, like, it's connected to the rage hormones. Because before I used to get, like, rageful on my period and stuff, like, I just used to, like, anytime, like, I would be just overwhelmed and shit. And I would just be... it would just be like this heat that would radiate from, like, the center of my body, like my belly button, and then it would just, like, radiate out like freaking waves. And that's the thing, is like, it's just kind of like in the summertime, that's the worst time for me to have my period, because it's just a gong show, it's overwhelming. And like, I'm really hoping to go swimming a lot more this year, because that is a healthy exercise for me that doesn't hurt my body too much, because I just, I mean, like, it's difficult, right? Like, I'll go down to the wharf and stuff, and, I fucking love it down there. I love the walk. But especially on the way up, I've been having a lot of problems with my heart lately. And that's kind of making me nervous, because I don't know if it was one of my tests that came back recently, but my doctor is getting me to do echo, like an echo test. Basically, they're gonna ultrasound my heart and check to see how it's looking. I found out that there's cardiomyopathy. I don't know how to properly say that. In my family, it's basically an enlarged heart or something like that. And I've always had, like, heart palpitations. I've always had chest pain, and basically, I've been complaining about it for years, but they just told me it was nothing, or they told me it was stress, or all the shit that I'd been through. Now I'm hoping that it's gonna be okay, but it's just a whole other can of worms that I really don't want to open up for myself right now, because I can already see where that's gonna go emotionally. But yeah, it's just I've got a lot going on, and like I've been wanting to lose some more weight. It's something that I've been working towards. But especially over the winter time, I really stayed inside a lot, because I was just afraid of the world and stuff. And I just like, I've noticed I've done that a lot in the last 2 years, I would say, is I've been inside more, either because I was terrified, and even when I did go out, like during the summertime, I'm walking around a lot and stuff. But um, I love swimming. Swimming is everything to me. Like, swimming completely changes my life. It makes me so calm, so relaxed. Like, it's the one time in my life, like, I feel free. Like, I'm not trapped inside my body, or, all the pain I've gone through. And I really want to get into swimming, because I know doing that will help me lose some more weight, because that's another thing, is having big hips and, a little bit of a belly and, I don't know, a bum. I don't know. It's just like, for me, it's my body, right? Like, and so just to like add, sizes and stuff to it, like, whatever. But like, one thing it can cause is the extra like fat around that area can make it like more heated. And like, so I've always had like a fucking hot vagina and shit. And fucking like in the wintertime, like, there's steam and shit that'll come out of there too. It's interesting, but it's not fun. It's really not fun. And that is one of the things of having extra weight on my body, is all the extra insulation. So, one thing with these rage hormones is because it adds like the heat and stuff. I'm hoping that, by losing some more weight and stuff, I'll be less hot, which will help so much. And just other things in life, like, I think when it comes to exercising and losing weight, and stuff like that, like, I think it's really important to do. Sorry about that. That's a garbage truck. I think it's really important to be honest with yourself about, what's best for you, because I've been told so much over my life. You gotta go to the gym, you gotta lift weights, you gotta do crunches, you gotta do squats, you gotta do all these other shit. And honestly, they're not comfortable for me. I have so many things, health-wise, structure-wise, just like with my like ligaments and shit. And of course, probably it would get better with time. But my biggest thing is I already have like a lot of physical pain, joint pain for being, well, I'll be 25 next Saturday, and one thing with swimming is it's low impact. And that for me is, I could swim for hours, honestly. Fucking, I could swim for hours and hours and hours, except for the ocean, because the ocean gives me anxiety that I'm gonna get bitten by a shark or something. And I'm afraid of dark water. And, one of the things is I've been trying to find someone to be a swimming buddy. I really think that would be really beneficial for me, honestly. Just because, like, I love swimming, but it's weird to go to the pool by myself. I like to still be a kid, and I like to fucking swim around and do tricks and giggle and laugh and stuff. And it's very strange when you do that by yourself. 'Cause like, that's what happens for me when I go swimming, is I'm instantly a little kid again. And I'm giggling and I'm laughing, and I just can't help it, it's such a euphoria for me to swim and to be in the water. And I mean, ever since I started smoking at around 19 and stuff, definitely holding my breath has gotten a little bit harder to do. But like, it's still, something that I love. And it actually, I find when I do go swimming, like, I lose not like a super amount of weight, because I haven't gone swimming consistently, in a very long time, because I just haven't had anyone to go with, or like when I first moved to this town, they hadn't even finished renovating the pool here, and then it opened, and I got to go swimming once, and then COVID happened, and then I needed to have a vaccine to go swimming. So yeah, apparently that's changed now, and I'm hoping to maybe go, but I just, like, I want to go with someone, you know, like, I want someone to swim with, you know. I mean, I know I could probably, like, find someone, or, like, put an ad out or something like that, maybe, but, you know, like, I just, like, I don't want to be doing those things, you know, like, I mean, it's just so difficult. It's a lot of shit to think about, but, you know, sorry, like I said, I got rage hormones, so that, you know, even though I'm not, like, full on, like, rah, you know, 24 hours, I'm still a little more touchy with myself in the sense of, like, what I'm saying, and I got some massive brain fog today. It's just been an interesting day, but I've been slowly working on getting my house in a way I like it. I have some ideas with my outreach worker of things that we could do and stuff. I was thinking of, for my patio and shit, I don't usually go out there because the fucking lunatic in 310, but, you know, I want to be able to sit on my patio, you know, like, even if fucking I have, like, someone that's losing his insanity that's right there. But I was thinking about, what's it called? Oh yeah, the police and stuff have gotten involved on that situation, and there's actual flyers up and stuff. I'm not sure if I'm gonna send out an email or not, because I'm nervous, because I don't want to lose my place, and my landlord told me not to get involved, even though, you know, there was an incident where I've been told that the substance that he put on my lock was male ejaculation. That seems to be the consensus from people. So, yeah. But what I was saying before my brain got kind of lost on that is, cause, like, I have a shorter balcony, like, it's not that far out, and it's kind of scary, because it's on a little bit of a downward angle, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and the railing is, like, below my hips, and, but I was thinking of getting, like a bench, you know, because it's got the perfect spot and stuff, and I feel like that would be more comfy. It's just so frustrating, because, you know, I have this, like, dude, like, right there that, like, he can already see into my apartment from inside of his apartment, and he's already done creepy shit that way, you know? And, like, so, like, to go out on my balcony, like, I have a bucket I've been sitting on out there just for a bit. But it's just so frustrating. Very, very frustrating, and it doesn't, like, irk me the way it used to, you know, like, that's what I mean, like, about being calmer and shit, like, there's just so much going on in the world right now, like, even more than before, and so much going on in people's individual lives as well, and I kind of, like, tapped out, you know, like, I wasn't really having anyone in my life that wanted to stick around for me, or that was really interested in, like, a two-way friendship or whatever. So instead of, like, even thinking about all the other shit, I've just been, you know, focusing on my own stuff, and I really needed it, and I'm not selfish. I it's just time to take care of me, you know? Like, I'm not gonna dish out my energy to anybody else unless if they're dishing it out to me equally, you know? Like, I just, like, you know, there's a few people that, like, it was promising at first, but that's usually how it is. And, I mean, honestly, I don't really care anymore because, you know, it doesn't affect me like the way it used to. I just don't care. It's not that, like, I don't care about you as a person. I don't. I don't care to worry about if you're gonna reach out to me or if you're gonna talk to me or if we're friends or, like, anything like that. I just don't care. I just don't care anymore. Because it's not even just, like, I know what I'm worth. It's just that I value my own company. I value, you know, the things that I do, the person that I am, and I'm a hell of a lot calmer when I just focus on my life and what's going on in my life and the things that I want to get accomplished. And, you know, it's been really nice. It's been really, really relaxing. You know, like, and I don't yearn or, like, crave to have a romantic relationship or anyone that close in my life right now. I realized that came from, like, a lot of my past stuff and trauma and, you know, people leaving me and not having a family and literally being dumped off in this earth and being passed around by strangers, like, my whole life, you know, like, it's been a different experience, and it's been my experience, and now I accept it. I accept what's happened. You know, I forgive the past. I I don't so much forgive the people in a sense. I forgive their actions to release myself, but I still purely believe that all of them, I just don't want them in my life, and I'm so sorry for anybody else that has to deal with them, but it's not my job. It never was my job. I didn't ask to be born. I was here. I'm here. I've struggled. I've been abused. I've been passed off from one stranger to the next. So much to the point that I got too comfortable with strangers, and then I didn't understand the danger of strangers because I didn't even get the option to choose the strangers I encountered and the strangers that were my parental guardians. And I've taken all that power back and all that understanding, and, you know, I understand the type of parents that I should have had, and I understand the safety and the support that should have been there that wasn't, and all this other stuff that I just, like, I was trying to look for it so much in other people because, you know, even though I was told that these people were gonna do it, you know, they didn't do it. And of course, right, I was just a stranger. They're just a stranger. So, you know, a lot of them, if I didn't fit their agenda of what they wanted, then it didn't matter. I was just an object. I was just property. I was just someone, something, a child that just came into their lives, you know? They may have chosen me, but that's the thing is, like, I wasn't something to be bought. You know, adoption to me is a transaction. Like, at the end of the day, they bought me and my sister. They paid someone money for us. You know, like, even with my mom who passed away, I mean, I feel like it would have been different because it was just my mom, me, and my sister, and then before that, it was just my birth mom, you know? So I think with just that initial shit, it would have been tough, but I think I would have been okay, and I think I would have gone on and done God knows what beautiful things and crazy ass things, whatever, schooling or, all that shit. But, when my mom died, from that moment on, like, my mom, like, who passed away, she was more my mom than the woman who gave birth to me. And so my mom, like, even though she was in the process of adopting us, I don't, I think I would have viewed it differently, because, I look back and yes, she wasn't perfect, but, she rescued me and my sister from a horrible tragedy of what our fate could have been. And she gave us something different. She gave us something more beautiful. And yes, there was trauma that happened in that house, but compared to what happened afterwards, I would have gladly taken that over everything else. And, because then after she died, we lived with her sister, and I'm not sure exactly how long we lived there. It was under a year, I would think. And then the government took us out of her care and then put us in 7 different foster homes all over the Penticton area. One was even just for one night. And then in the last foster home, they sold us to a couple in, what's it called? Surrey. A wealthy couple. They literally sold me and my sister to a wealthy couple who bought us, then moved us out there. I look back and I remember them kind of asking me if it's what I wanted. And I kind of wonder if even if I'd said no, if it would have made a difference, And and they were horrible people. Absolutely horrible people. They should have never had children. But that's what money can buy. Money can buy children. So it doesn't matter how horrible of a person you are. If you have just the right amount of money, you can buy a child or 2. And, especially, living on my own and shit and going through all this shit and the bullshit I've dealt with here in this town and, the attempted kidnappings and the fucking creepers and all that shit, I can understand why it would be so scary, or, even the idea of being human trafficked and, kidnapped and thrown into, fucking sex slavery is fucking, I've already been bought and sold once. I just didn't realize it because it was under the umbrella term of being adopted. And the thing is, for me, is recently, over the last month or so, I started to find content on Instagram of other people who were adopted. And then, me being Caucasian, white, I don't even know the right term to use on that anymore. It's very confusing. But what I want to say about that is, I went through what I went through. And the more I've learned about the world, the more I've realized that people of different skin tones have faced different challenges that I could never imagine. And so for me, when I started learning about, adoption and people's stories, I started understanding especially what children of other skin tones go through, and that it's even more complicated, I don't know, I hope this doesn't come off as insensitive, but fuck, right? So I'm white. I don't, please correct me if I'm wrong using these terms, but for me, I I have wavy thick hair and I have green eyes, pale skin, and probably the closest thing they had to worry about for me when it came to changing, and really not changing, but honoring traditions of me and my race, I guess. I don't know, just me personally. You would only have to worry about potentially religion and potentially the way I eat. Um, but with someone of color, there's so much more to that. I really want to make sure that you guys know that I've tried to come to my own understanding of learning everybody's dialogue that they use for explaining these different subjects. I really apologize if I'm brutalizing this. I'm trying my best. That's why I really just want to focus in and make sure you know that what I'm saying is, I guess I could go into explaining more what I was going to say. Oh yes, that's what I was going to say. But there's like um, people of color and their different hairstyles and, different health stuff, I guess. Just genetics, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I should have stopped before I spoke on that. Like I said, I want to say this with as much, oh man, like, I just, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm just gonna say it. Being the color of skin I am, I fucking hate it. I hate it. I really do. Honestly, don't get me wrong. I love it with the way tattoos and stuff. That's been my thing. But honestly, I hate how much people of my skin tone have fucked it up for other people of different colors to the point where I'm so terrified of saying something wrong because I just, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to describe. I mean, I feel like it's just so hard for me to put into words because it pisses me off. Like, it really, really does. Like, I think we're all beautiful and, I just, like, I wish we could honor each other. I wish we could honor and learn from each other. Like, for me, I've always been fascinated by myself, the way my body works or the way my hair works. That's been a whole thing on its own. But so for me, like, when I get to meet people from different places in the world and they have different bodies and different genetics and I love to learn. I love to learn. I love to be open and just, you know what I mean? Because we're all, at the end of the day, we are all one species. We are all human beings. Maybe there's some aliens among us. I don't know. But, we're all one species. And I love each and every one of you the exact same. I mean, like, depending on our level of connectedness in the world and stuff, there's that. But even if I didn't meet everybody in this whole entire universe, I love them all. I love them for purely existing, even the ones that have long passed on generations back. Because, like, I don't know, it's just so hard to put into words, but I really want you guys to know that, like, I have a email in the description, and if there is any, words or anything like that, I'm hoping not to get roasted, because I am trying, but if you're someone that hears what I'm saying, and, maybe I'm saying something incorrect, or maybe I don't fully understand the right way to say something, please do let me know. I have a email in the description. Oh man. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it will be in the description below when I upload this. But yeah, I really want to open up that dialogue, and I would really appreciate it if it's not in like an aggressive or um, way, just because for me, like I for a very long time have always preferred that, like, just tell me, like, as shitty as it is, um, life can be, and the truth can be. I would rather know so that I can understand it and then change or evaluate my behavior or the words I say, because I understand that I'm not going to understand everything. I've kind of been in my own little trauma bubble for years, probably, quite a long time, and I'd say only been out of it for I don't know how long, but it's been a very short while. And so for me, I am just getting back out into the world, and I'm starting to like kind of get back into like like stuff that's going on in the world, whether like COVID. I didn't fully comprehend COVID until halfway through 2020, because I was just so traumatized by life, and I was just so stuck in that trauma that I just couldn't conceptualize. um, World War III and the way everything, like COVID kind of brought me back into it, like into the world of what is going on around the world, outside of my trauma. And so like I've been pretty aware, but I still wasn't able to like really look into stuff. And so now I am open myself up to the world more. So like I'm learning more about pop culture, or like all these MLMs, or like what's going on like TikTok, and like all this stuff that like I didn't even know was happening. Maybe it's just surface level, but I find the more I'm learning about the world, about like social dynamics and groups, and the way people talk, and I've been watching TED Talks, and I've been watching like video essays, commentary videos, and learning about all this kind of stuff. And it just like opened my eyes to like a whole other like reality, because I was honestly selfish in a sense, because I was very, very consumed by what I'd gone through, all the trauma I'd gone through, and because I wasn't able to like grasp everything that had gone on, and because it had been going on for so long, that yes, I'd started working on myself in May 2018. However, the full-on like real hard work didn't truly start, I'd say, till about 2020, when I had my own apartment. And that's another thing I'll get into later on. But I was selfish. I was very, very selfish. In the sense of, I was still able to like, I wasn't selfish in the sense of like, I was like, like me kind of thing, outwards towards people. Like I could still like, I was still very involved with people. I was honestly giving myself way too much to the wrong people, like, because I was trying to make family. And so for me, it was just kind of like selfish of what I was bringing my attention to. You know what I mean? Like I was really struggling with the balance. I was mainly looking at and working on and trying to help people with their own lives, and then I would have very small time looking at mine, and then it switched back to, then I was just like, you know what, fuck this, fuck all the toxic people. I'm taking my time back. What do I want to do with my life? What do I enjoy doing? Who am I? And then once I got that balance down, aka the work, personal balance that I was talking about getting, after that, now I've been opening myself up to, okay, social. And the thing is with social, because I honestly feel like I've been so out of the loop with how to interact with people, stuff like that. Like, it's been very different for me because I went from being a social butterfly, but at the same time, like, I was very nervous all the time. I was always very scared. And when I'm scared or when I'm nervous, I talk a lot. And so I would overshare and I would talk about a lot about my life and what I'd gone through, and it was an interesting time for myself. But the problem was I was opening up to the wrong people. And that's the thing, is you can actually create more damage and more pain from opening up to the wrong people. And it took some time, Honestly, I used to be so impatient. I never thought I could be patient because, like, I would get, like, that overheated thing every time I was impatient. And it would just be insane. And so, for me to be even sitting here now, and, like, I started this episode with being, like, full-on rage monkey. Like, I was just feeling so intense and out of control, just internally. Like, it's just, everything was more sensitive. I just was more on edge. Like, I was more ready to, like, even just walk in the store. I was ready to just, like, anybody touch me? Ha ya! I don't know, that sounded weird, but you know what I mean? Like, I was so just, like, ready to defend myself. Like, and I don't like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I stand up for myself, but I don't like when I know I wouldn't be able to control myself, like, let's just say there was, like, maybe a creeper that's fucking walking down the street or in his vehicle, and either he pulls over in his vehicle or he tries to get my attention and he says something really creepy to me. In full-on rage hormonal mode, I would fucking chew him out, call him out, fucking call him just, like, a fucking disgusting whatever in front of the whole neighborhood. And just keep walking. Well, there's two things I learned with that. It's one, yes, it's important to stand up for yourself, but two, you really have to make sure and understand that depending on how the situation escalates and how it goes, you need to be able to understand when it's time to just keep walking, when it's time to call the cops, or when it's time to get confrontational. Because, like, I learned with the guy with the black Ram that the police had to get involved that stalked me for 2 days, and fucking, it was just really creepy and shit. I would confront him because he was escalating and shit. So I was making it known, I'm not gonna fuck around, And, it actually did work, and getting the police involved really helped. But, I also have to make sure that that guy's not, like, gonna snap and fucking run me over or fucking, God knows what, And so having the ability to be patient is really important in those situations. Like, it's not patience in the sense of, like, you wait 5-10 minutes. It's you give yourself that extra thinking time. Like, the more I've done it, the faster that I can do it, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, when I was younger and stuff, like, I couldn't think it through. It would just be, like, instinct, animal brain, defense mode. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I've had enough different types of creepers and stuff like that. Like, what is his behavior like? Like at the apartment building next door of my ex's building manager. He was really creepy, and he was giving me such intense anxiety that I started writing down and documenting what was happening, And whereas some people, I just won't do that because, like, it's just like maybe it's just a one-time thing, or you know, it hasn't escalated. Like there's a few people I walk down the street, you know, and interact with that are I've had to deal with. But you know, I used to I used to leave my house, and I was so traumatized by just leaving my house because it's a small town, right? And fucking I just like I was always ready to fight. You know, I didn't want to, but I couldn't think about anything else because I was just waiting to be like kidnapped or harassed or someone to put their hands on me, you know, because I won't do anything unless you put your hands on me. But if you do put your hands on me, then I pray that someone's around, you know, because like that's my thing is like I got in my first physical fight last fall with ironically a 60-year-old man. I know saying he's 60 makes him sound different, but he's a total asshat and he's a total pervert, and I never thought he would hit me, but it was the day after someone passed away that we both knew, and I was trying to help him and shit, and then he started getting aggressive with my friend, and I got in the middle of it, and because I didn't think he would hit me, and he hit me. He smoked me up the side of my head. Sorry, just putting on chopstick. He smoked me up the left side of his head, and he went in for a second hit. I guess he grabbed my hair. I didn't even realize he grabbed my hair, but the second hit, like, he actually pulled down my like shirt, like he ripped my shirt strap and pulled like my sports bra down, so like I just like I turned to the right and I pulled up my sports bra so my boob wasn't exposed, and I just as I was turning back around, like he went right under me and tried to flip me over his back, and me luckily being like 220, 240, I don't know, around there, I was a lot heavier than him. But looking back, like, you know, I think subconsciously, because he had his knees bent a little bit, right? Like, he was about to try to flip me over his back. And so I think I knew subconsciously that if I dropped my weight without his knees being a little bit, like, flexible, like, you know, like, when you're holding it and then you're about to, like, push up and, like, you loosen your knee to go up, I think I waited for that moment to drop my weight down to my knees, and I brought him to the ground that way. You know, and for me, like, it happened so fast, thank God someone was there, because he still had, like, his arm underneath the back of my knees, and so I couldn't get up and shit, but I had him on the ground, and some guy pulled him off, and I didn't even look at him. I turned my back to him, and I just sat down, and cops showed up and everything, but yeah, like, honestly, I learned a few things from that fight. One is, even if you don't think someone's gonna hit you because it's completely out of character, you never know. Watch for those warning signs, because something in him snapped when he walked away. He walked away like he was actually gonna leave, and then he gets over to, like, his bike is, and then, I don't know, he just, like, stands there for a moment, and then all of a sudden, he just starts walking back, except for, like, the way he's walking is different. The way he's holding himself is different. The way he's looking at me is different. Like, something in him snapped. And, but, like, I guess subconsciously, too, at the same time, like, my friend, he had just got hand surgery, too. And I didn't realize that, but, that's the only fight I've really gotten in. Honestly, like, I've been attacked and shit. You know, when I was in my relationship with my ex, the one from Surviving Chad, you know, like, he would pin me down and shit. Like, he would fucking take his knees and fucking, you know, sit on my, like, fucking, you know, like, the muscles, like, right below the shoulder. I'm not sure what those are called, the biceps or whatever, and he'd fucking, you know, pin me down on a couch or on the floor, on the bed, and fucking just get in my face and, You know, like I only could literally fight with like my arms up from my elbows, right? And my legs. And so there was a lot of times that I learned, you know, how to fight. I didn't want to, but yeah, no, when you're dealing with someone violent, you need to learn how to fight back fast. But, you know, like, fuck, man, just even thinking about what I went through there. But the thing is, like, it's kind of like a superpower for me now because I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. And the thing that's been helping me a lot lately is when I leave the house, I'm like, and every time I get anxious now, I just fucking tell myself, like, I can fight, but I don't want to fight. You know what I mean? Because, like, before, like, I was just so terrified of something happening and trusting myself because I had never, like, fought anyone. Like, you know, like, I didn't, like, until that thing with the guy last fall, you know, I hadn't had any, like, practical experience to remind myself of what I went through with Chad and the things that I had to learn and that part of myself. So now, whenever I get in a fight, that's my thing. I can handle verbal fights all day long. You know, that shit hurts, but, like, I can deal with it. But unless if it's, like, repeated, like, months and months, then that's just really shitty and you should just stop doing that. But, fucking physical fights, I am very sensitive to touch. Like, I have fibromyalgia. I have certain spots on my body that if you press them too hard, like, I will cry. And so my thing is, I've been in relationships where, like, my ex, you know, the one with the building manager, like, he would accidentally, like, slightly burn me with his cigarette. I didn't like that. And even though sometimes it was, like, accidental, it wasn't an all-the-time thing, but it's just the best example, is fucking, I get instantly very, very angry. If you physically hurt me, I get angry. Just like that, you know? And, so, like, my thing is, like, that's why I don't fight. And that's why, I mean, fuck, if a kid's in trouble, like, I will haul ass and, you know, I won't mind going to jail, you know? Like, I don't want to go to jail. I really don't think that I'd fit well there. I think I just, you know, and so, like, I don't like lying. I hate stealing. You know, just, like, when you have so much shit happen to you and you really feel it and you feel how shitty it is, you don't really want to do that to other people. And also on top of that, like, I just don't want to be in jail. You know, I worked through my high guilt complex. I don't feel guilty for everything anymore, but it's not what I want to do with my life. And I really think that I'm meant to be out here and helping people this way. But, like, you know, I just, like, it's so difficult, you know, that, like in Canada, like, you're not allowed to defend yourself. Like, you'll go to jail for defending yourself. And I just, like, I found it really shitty because, like, that was something for me that I really struggled with was, you know, like, and I guess that situation last fall also helped me because I realized, you know, even though I physically fought back because he hit me first, you know, like, and I wasn't even trying to, like, provoke it or anything. I literally just was standing in front of him so he couldn't get to my friend. And, you know, like, I thought I would have gone to jail for something like that. And, you know, walking down the street or just going out in the community and being so terrified of being kidnapped or raped or God knows what. And then also knowing you never want to go to jail and you want to, you know, abide by the laws, whatever. And then you're conflicted because you're so terrified of something happening, but then you're also terrified that if you were to try to protect yourself, the thing that you don't want to do because it terrifies you. Like, I would rather do everything I can not to go to jail because it's terrifying. It would be a terrifying experience for me, and so I had such this huge confliction within myself of, like, it was literally only like in 2020 that I finally like had that little talk with myself of, okay, if someone is physically attacking you, it is okay to fight back. Like, it's so fucked up that I had to tell myself that, and I had to like do it multiple times. Like, it took time to actually feel comfortable enough defending myself, and that I wasn't going to get in trouble, or I wasn't going to go to jail, or that it was the wrong thing to do, that if someone is physically attacking me, I am allowed to defend myself. I am worthy of defending myself. And so it's just like these experiences and stuff, and it really makes me feel a lot safer now. Like, I feel safer knowing that, okay, I'm not gonna go out there and punch people because that's not the path I want. I don't want to go to jail. However, if there's a situation that goes down and someone starts attacking me, I know that I have every right to defend myself. And if I did end up in jail, like, that'd be so fucking shitty. And I would, like, use that opportunity to, get some laws changed and shit, but I don't really think that's my path, honestly. I know I'd get eaten alive in jail. I'm just definitely not the right kind of person to go into a jail. Honestly, it's just, well, too naive, and yeah, shit like that. But don't get me wrong, like, I fucking can be a strong ass motherfucker and all this shit, and I can hold my own, and I can hold my own in a fight. Like, and the cool thing for me too is, looking back at that fight, is I didn't throw a punch back. I just dropped him to the ground and restrained him until someone else got him. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, like, that's another big thing is, like, I would understand if, like, I start flying at him and I start punching him in the face, and punching in the stomach. But the thing is, I will tell you a little secret. If, for me, punching feels so pathetic, like, to actually, like, make the punching motion, it feels so pathetic to me, honestly. Like, but that's just me. Like, I just physically can't do it. Like, there's just something about it. That punching just ain't my thing. But for me, I just, like, and then going back to that fight too, is as soon as I heard the person that was coming up to grab him, and then my friend Jamin, basically, as soon as I heard his voice, like, I went from in the middle of this fight to, okay, I'm safe. And emotionally, I went from that place of, like, defense mode to instantly, I was like, just get me out of here. Like, I don't want to do this. I just, like, you know what I mean? Like, I went from, like, okay, I need to defend myself. Okay, he's down, to my friend hearing his voice, instantly relaxing, to then, like, crying, and then telling this other guy, like, can you help me? Like, he's got his arm behind my legs. Like, I can't get up, because, like, I just wanted to get up. As soon as I knew that I was safe and that there was someone there I knew, like, because that's the thing, is, like, you get lost in that moment. It just happens so fast. And, like, that can go back to another time with Chad, when he chased me in his car after a night of just really horrible shit going on in that boat. And I made a break for it, and, he got out of his car, and, like, after chasing me a few blocks, and was up in my face. Thank God a woman called 911 and there was a gas leak. So they were close. But I finally somehow made it past him. There's like this guy that was leaving the house and I just kind of darted around him. So I was so panicked. I just kept walking and I walked like maybe about half a block. And as I got to the light and I was like pressing the button and I was just so in my own little world, just panicked. I didn't have my phone. He had taken my phone and I just was like, I just gotta get out of there. And then all of a sudden, I hear this police officer like say, "Are you la la la?" And instantly, after I heard his voice, I went from trying to run away, super scared, super panicky, to instantly just all my emotion dropped, and I was really emotional, and I knew subconsciously I was safe, and I just fell apart. And it turned out I actually had an interaction with that police officer back when I was 19, when the place I was living at decided to get a roommate for me through the same organization, and she was crazy, and they weren't home, and I had to like follow her barefoot when I wasn't feeling well because she said she was going to kill herself. And then yeah, it's just so that day I had actually met that police officer, so to me he was a safe person. And to me that's just like, I guess another thing I want to speak on is like sometimes you don't really fully understand that like sometimes people's voices can make you feel safe. Like for me, like it's like, you know, being an animal locked in a cage, and you know, my only way out, like that's what something like that is to me, is, you know, I'm still there. Like I can, that's the thing, is like as long as it's verbal, fucking I can play cat and mouse. Like I can be a cat quite well, because as soon as you start trying to verbally fuck with me, you just become a mouse. You know, even when I got punched in the head early 2021, fucking by this bitch, like fucking even after that, like I mean we were in the stairwell, so I wasn't gonna do anything, but like fucking I was so angry, but I was able to remain calm, and she just was fucking walking in front of me trying to like, you know, like bounce around like a boxer and shit, and I just looked at her and she looked like a little fucking deer, and I just felt so fucking powerful just watching her. I didn't even need to say anything. And fucking, and then we get back to like the people, kind of like they were like my family for a bit, back to their apartment, and as soon as I go straight into their bedroom, like in their apartment, straight into their bedroom, I close the door and I tell them what happened, and I go from this powerful place of this just like, I don't know, to instantly breaking down and crying. So for me, like I realized that I have that aspect in myself to defend myself. You know, I do have the ability, even in those high tense situations, to still think rationally. You know, like with the one last fall, I was able to, you know, subconsciously remember my friend had just had hand surgery. I was able to subconsciously understand that if I dropped my weight too soon, that I could have broken maybe his legs. And so it was subconscious, and I did it at the perfect time, I guess, right when he was bending. So when I dropped it, his legs were already in a fluid motion, so it wasn't going to damage him. You know, I didn't think about that. I wasn't thinking about that. Like, it was just so instinctual. Or just like, so like for me, that's created so much safety in myself because of, you know, my ability to like not only handle myself and keep myself safe, but the ability to work from a subconscious place of understanding. Like when I got that concussion with that girl in the stairwell, subconsciously, you know, even though she punched me in the head, like she got up like a fucking boxer and jumped into it and smoked me in the side of my head, gave me a really, really bad concussion. And I was still able to, like, take that and subconsciously understand where we were. We were on the fucking stairs, you know? And, you know what I mean? Subconsciously, I knew if we got into a fight, one of us would end up going down the stairs, right? And, so you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and then the self-control I had to not get physical with her, you know? And just, like, all this stuff, like, it's so instinctual for me, and it came from a time in my life where, you know, I was literally helpless, and, you know, I didn't have anybody, or, you know, I was in a relationship, and it was just so mentally abusing that I couldn't get out of it, you know. My trauma, like, it's not an excuse for how long I stayed, or what I put up with, or what I went through, but coming to this point in my life, I do understand that it's not just what I went through, but it's also the things that no one taught me, you know. I didn't have a parental figure to help me in a healthy way, teach me about the world. I didn't have people to help me understand what a bad person was. And also, due to not having any stable relationships within a family, the people that did try to help me understand, I couldn't trust them, or because they were a counselor, or an outreach worker, or someone, you know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't trust someone to learn, and on top of that, I was outside of everything else that I had gone through. I was constantly still going through more stuff, and so my ability to even begin to process and understand what I'd gone through, let alone know and understand how to remove that from a current situation, it's just, it was difficult, you know. It was very difficult, and it took me a long time. And I'm glad I fought and worked for getting my own place, where it's just me. Because it really opened my mind up to how important it is when you have that, like, safe zone that's your own. That, like, it's not just a room where you can sleep. Like, it's a place where you can make food, where you can shower. I mean, preferably where you can do laundry. I mean, I have to go down the hall for it, so it's kind of shitty. But it's just so important, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I've lived in places where I was a roommate. I mean, fuck, I didn't even really have a room in the one with my birth mother. And the one when I first moved here, that was shitty, you know. Because the thing was, I had all this shit to deal with outside of where I was living, and then, you know, there's not enough personal space within the house or wherever it was, and, you know, especially each place had their own special sort of set of circumstances that made it really hard to live there and tolerate, and just caused more shit to deal with. And for a long time, I've had to adapt to the new situation. And then it was just like, because I didn't have a healing space to work through that shit, you know? Like, it was just like, I couldn't even process it. So it was, you know, dealing with stuff from my childhood, and fucking, you know, I couldn't even begin to look at that, you know? And so, honestly, since moving into my own place and my own apartment, you know, I've done so much work on myself, so much healing has gotten done. And, you know, another thing is like, even looking back when I was in, like, home share after I turned 19, and aged out of the foster care system, was in the homes where there were good people. They treated me with respect. They let me have my privacy. They were patient with me. Those places, I blossomed. I would grow and I would do so much, and I was so proud of myself. But then there were also other houses that I lived in that were controlling, that were rude, that were aggressive, that invaded my space, fed food to my kitten. That one still makes me angry to this day, even though I don't have Bella anymore. Still pisses me off. Those places diminished that growth. All of a sudden, I wasn't just trying to figure out how to survive world outside of where I lived, but then there was a whole new combat zone, and especially when you have people invading your privacy like that, and then also crossing boundaries, and then it's not just you, they're actually affecting the well-being of basically your child. Bella was my child, and then that's a whole new can of worms, because you're trapped, you're living there, you can't go home, you know, you live there, and then every time you leave the house, you're worried about them just going, that's the thing, they don't have to worry about a neighbor watching them go in there, because if they live within the house, they can just go in there, and they don't really have to worry, you know, and so it just caused a lot of distrust and shit like that. And honestly, like, since having my own apartment, you know, I wasn't always the smartest, and, you know, I had a few inconsiderate people that I brought into my home that I just learned not to ever do that again. But, like, the more I've lived here and the more I've learned to remove toxic people from my life, remove toxic family members from my life, and remove all of these judgments and these thoughts of things that they told me. Like, I used to have, I'd call them, like, you know, the, like, literally having arguments in my head with the phantoms of the past, you know, like, I would, like, it would be so subconscious, though, like, it wasn't, like, in my conscious mind, but it was the way that I would beat myself up is I would be constantly reliving the arguments and the trauma that I had with people, especially the people who adopted me, and just constantly. But any time I wanted to try something new, I'd have all of a sudden all that anger and frustration come up of dealing with them, and all of a sudden, just subconsciously, I'd be playing out the arguments with them, trying to prove my point of why I'm allowed to fucking try something new. And it's just so shitty, honestly. It's very shitty to think that I was suffering through that for so long. Like, and that's the thing, it's not just something that happens when I'm awake, it happens when I'm sleeping, it happens when I'm using the bathroom, it happens when I'm having sex, it fucking anytime, you know, because it wasn't just one thing either, right? Like, I would get it if, like, there was one moment in my life, but, like, that was the thing with even, like, doing house chores and stuff, is it took me a while to really understand why I had such problems doing chores, but then I realized how much, like, I get triggered. And then I get triggered back into those phantom arguments, and I'm trapped. I mean, basically you could call them flashbacks, but to me I call them phantom arguments, because I'm still able to still function, but there's still that whole other side of my mind that's thinking and processing and all that stuff, and that's really what I've been working on, letting it go. You know, I really like this. I haven't just sat down and talked to you guys in such a long time. It's just, you know, like, I remember, I remember, you know, the times in my life, like even just recently, just where I feel like, oh fuck, I can't record an episode today, or there's just nothing to talk about, or I don't know what to talk about, or sometimes it's really short. And that's because like all the things that I've brought up in this episode so far are things that I'm starting to get a more clear understanding within my subconscious and my mind about where I stand on these things and how I feel, and just like where I'm at in my growth. And it's just like I can't speak about it until I'm ready, if that makes sense, because like for me, I just I guess before, when I was triggered like all the time, like I would get so excited over so many different things and I talk about them all the time. And but the thing was, like, the problem with being triggered and dysregulated is like sometimes that like anxiety can look like an excitement. So I think I'm excited about something, or I'm overstimulating the shit out of myself and cramming so much into my head that I'm not able to actually really think about it and how I feel. And so I was just constantly like craving knowledge and just it was amazing, but very annoying. Because what would happen is I would crash a little bit sometimes. Um, and it was kind of difficult for me because I didn't understand anxiety, like, especially because like going through what I did with the people who adopted me and the trauma they put me through and all that shit like that, um like I got diagnosed with all this shit. And so my thing was I knew I was sad, and like I knew that I'd gone through some shit. But like when I really looked back at things, I really understood the correlation between events, traumatic events happening, and where my mood was. And so the more I was being traumatized, the more I was being controlled, the more I was having my privacy of my body, my mind and my heart being like just shred apart, like constantly, like waking up and going to bed in the same environment. Of course it made me dysregulated. Of course it made it hard for me to function. Of course it made it hard to think or process my emotions. And especially in that house that I got adopted in, it seemed like I wasn't allowed to feel anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I had a lot of anger towards them in the beginning because of the abuse that was going on. And so it was a very healthy, natural reaction to what was going on, and there was literally no one that would help me. No one. Like, I had already been proven early on that the social worker wouldn't do anything. And then, so because I couldn't get help from the outside, I started to try to help from the inside. And then over time, I realized I couldn't do anything. And then I became very, very depressed because I was constantly witnessing myself and my sister be abused. And there was nothing I could do about it. And no one in the world seemed to give a shit. None of the people that were my family when my mom was alive seemed to give a shit. Like, it was like we never existed. And I mean, I get it. Like, I get it, You knew her for what? She was 50 when she passed away, and I was 9. I was a part of their lives before she passed, less than 10 years. Now, turning 25, 10 years is a short time. I understand why, they didn't form a bond with me, or maybe they didn't feel like it was their duty to check in on us or anything like that. But, becoming severely depressed And that was just the shit that I was going on at my house. But then, like, outside the house, which was basically only school and shit, I had gone from living in a small town and we were about to go to middle school and then being moved 4 hours away and then meeting all these girls that tell me I have to shave my legs and just super sexualized me so fast. But then the thing is, at that house that I moved to, I got threatened that they would get shot in the ass with buck salt. Just like I wasn't allowed to date till I was 21. Just all this fucked up shit. I wasn't allowed to talk about boys. Just like so much like, and of course being the oldest too, right? Like you get all of the shit first, and it's insane to me that some people are allowed to have children. But now I see that they bought them, so it's just shitty, But it's really empowering. It's very, very empowering because I used to blame myself for everything that happened to me and my sister, especially after our mom died. Every time we were yelled at, every time we were ignored, abused, even our state of our own relationship as sisters, or, I just felt so fucking guilty. I blame myself for everything that went on. And, and then it just got, it was already tough after she died. I was 9, got adopted when I was 10, turning 11. That was like when it was finalized. And then it changed, Then it was split, They did a pretty good job at it, and it's difficult. It's very, very difficult because many times I wish I could go back and change it and, maybe have just left, gone next door. Like, she probably would have survived and shit, but I was too scared of the dark, I was terrified. I opened up the front door and it was just pitch black. And I mean, now being older and thinking back to, like, the fact that, like, my mom and my grandma would kidnap me, and I have a very vivid memory of it being dark out, and through the screen door, my grandma, birth grandma, who has a Looney Tune voice, fucking trying to get me to come out when I'm, like, very, like, I think I was, like, 2-3 feet high, That's really creepy. That's really scary. I would understand why I'm scared of the dark. And, and then to be told, like, not to open the door ever. And then the one time that you should have opened the door, even though you weren't allowed, it was pitch black out, you should have, Like, it's just difficult. It's just frustrating. Because, like, I don't know. I mean, I look at the state of the world as it is in now, and I just, like, I can't picture that reality. I can't picture a reality other than what I've had, and it's difficult. It really truly is. But the thing is, ever since I realized how much guilt I placed over myself for that was when I realized that I didn't need to be. I was 9. It was my sister's birthday. I clearly had trauma that made me terrified to leave the house or, open the door when it's dark out. And, like, I did the best I could, and, like, I've finally gotten to a point where I don't feel guilty anymore, but it's still difficult, it's still a sore spot, is probably the best way to put it. Um, I One of the coping skills that I had was I created a relationship with her after she left. You know, I couldn't remember the way she talked or the way she sounded, and so I made her a really big part of my life. And you know, I remember the way she used to make me feel, somewhat, and it's difficult, you know. But I'm in a place in my life where once this court case is over, I'm changing my name and I'm just gonna start over, you know. No more ties to the past. I have my grandma on my birth dad's side. She's super amazing. I love her so much, and you know, she's gonna be, you know, the family that I have, and I think it's beautiful, and I'm excited, and even if it's not perfect, it's okay, you know. And I'm ready. Like, I don't hold much resentment to myself. You know, I really am patient with myself. And, like, even today with the rage hormones, like, it was just insane for me. But, you know, honestly, like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I went to the liquor store and I got these 6-pack of the Tempo Gin Smash, like this one's strawberry lemon, and I have had a little bit of time to experience alcohol and what I like, what makes me feel better, and this drink in particular just really relaxes me and makes me happy. And you know, part of me was like really upset because I was like, what are you doing? Like, it's only 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But I was like, you know what? I'm not in a position where I can go around my kitchen and make a bunch of food and keep like messing it up, dropping it on the floor or something, and just like full on rage mode. What I need to do is I need to get myself calm. What do I need to do to get calm? I thought about weed, and I was like, weed hasn't really been calming me down like that. Like, weed kind of enhances it. Like, yesterday was the first day of my period, and, yeah, I had some really bad cramps yesterday, and with the cramping and the low iron, weed just kind of took it to a whole new level that was uncomfortable. And, yeah, but now I'm more relaxed. I mean, I'm sure you could probably tell just by from the beginning of this recording to now how much more calmer I am. I mean, I'm curious to know if you can hear my voice change as I get more emotional and stuff. It's always been so fascinating to me. I was really getting into the body panel experts on YouTube. I think that's what they're called. And like they like read body behavior and they analyze it and they talk about it, and it really helped me realize how much I personally get caught up in the emotions of how people sound when they're talking, as opposed to the more physical body language they're giving me. And it's just, it was really crazy because like they would like talk about different people, like killers and stuff like that. And I remember the first one I watched was that Emily something. She's like the Thanos or something, like the one blood droplet test or something. And they're analyzing her and her body language and like pointing out like the different things she does, like her blink rate or just stuff like that, and you know, the interaction between her and the interviewer. And like to me that was so fascinating because I like it makes so much sense, especially too with like, you know, my own interactions and my own gauging of people, and even myself, because I actually have a very, very, very expressive face. I always was so worried that I wasn't expressing my face enough. Um, because I used to be upset all the time, and I'd go a really long time without laughing, or I thought if I didn't smile enough, I wouldn't be happy, or people would think that I was an angry person, and so I used to get so self-conscious about smiling. But I can promise you, and I can tell you that I don't remember what year it was, but within the last few years, I had my first smile that went all the way up to my eyes. And I've had it a few times since, and I'm very proud of myself. It feels really nice to truly smile. But yeah, it's just like, it's little things like that that like I've learned about just by being interested and curious and clicking on a video and learning, and then watching a few more videos and gaining a better understanding, and then not only observing that in other people but also myself. And it's just like, having that knowledge gives me comfort, because I do realize that like, just by only analyzing the way someone talks, and that's where I've gotten into a lot of trouble with people, is I didn't fully understand their intentions due to I was only listening to their voice and stuff like that. And so for me, like, it made me less afraid. It made me feel more comfortable in the fact that maybe I don't need to be as panicked, and I can trust myself a little bit more because I have more tools. And it's true. Honestly, it is very true, and it is so important to like really open yourself up to and learn. Only if you want to, of course. But for me, it's just changed so much in my life, because now these things that I wasn't taught as a child, I'm able to learn from the internet. But the thing is, you also have to be careful with that and who you're listening to and stuff like that. So I'm just thinking what I'm going to have to eat, because I am hungry. Yeah. 4:25. I was really craving wrap last night, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to fill it with. And then I opened up the freezer, and there were these chicken strips, and I forgot that I made a wrap like that once. But like, even like my house, so like I'm like, I opened up like my bedroom a bit more, like I changed it up, and it's more open in my living room, just more open space, and it's just really nice. And like, it's just little things like that, taking care of yourself in little ways over time. And that was another thing, is learning to be patient with myself when I couldn't fulfill this crazy ass prophecy of busting my butt off to obtain something, or like it was really difficult for me to work on doing chores if I was getting so triggered that like I would just like have like a mini meltdown, to the point where I wouldn't even allow my outer triggers to help me clean, because I was just so worried about like me getting upset with them, but like I did the work, and I worked through that, and now like I'm able to accept help. And not only that, but then accepting help just makes it so much easier. And then all of a sudden, instead of feeling like this gigantic mountain you have to climb, like you can just go more patiently, and you can trust yourself enough to get it done. It's just like, I have something that I want to do, but now I have to wait for my period to be over, and like, it's just shit like that. Like, it's these little things, these little compromises with yourself, these checking in. It's like your own personal assistant within yourself, and you're making sure that you're on the same page of, okay, like especially because like I have a lot of memory problems. It's not that I completely lose my memory, which I probably have, like the majority of my life is missing, unless if I like pull it up, kind of. Like it takes me a while to like bring things up, or like even to like remember yesterday. Like I kind of remember yesterday. Like I remember, like on average, per day, I probably remember like 5 hours maximum. Like everything else, I just don't really remember. Um, and so that's kind of shitty. So like for me, like it's been really understanding that and working with that, and allowing myself to be patient enough to be like, okay, well that's how it works. So now I find if there's something that I really want to remember, I have a calendar now, which really helps. But also, like, I'll be like, okay, I need to remember this. And as long as I consciously remind myself I need to think about it, it's pretty easy. But honestly, I still have troubles with that one too. I get distracted quite easily too. So, and I'm not always looking at my time at the time. So, I mean, hold on one second. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Please set timer for 30 minutes.
Sure, 30 minutes. Starting now.
Thank you. Okay. So yeah. Like that was even a distraction. But I just kind of remember what I was talking about. So I just kind of had this little epiphany. I mean, it's just maybe an observation of something in front of my face. But, you know, like like I just said, like I don't really check the time that much, right? So if I'm not checking the time, then it's harder for my brain to like break down everything in minutes. Like, I don't know. I find strangely, the more emotionally charged the situation, the more I remember it. Um, Unless if it goes to the back of my subconscious mind, and then it just like creeps its way back in. That's not fun. That's really not fun. Those are frustrating because those usually happen with like traumatic events for me, um, or like things that I can't believe happened, but they did happen. But it's just like so shocking that like my brain has to like give me a break, and then I'll just like kind of forget about it, or it'll be at the back of my mind, but I won't realize it, and life will go on, and then all of a sudden like these things start happening, or I'm reacting to certain things, and then it's like as I'm processing the things subconsciously, it's affecting me consciously without realizing it in my actions, and then as time goes on, as my subconscious processes it, as I go through experiences that help me kind of understand that thing, then when my subconscious is kind of come to an understanding, it'll bring it back up again. So like when I started learning about the adoptee thing, I saw it one day and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I just kind of thought about it. It really opened my eyes. And then I forgot about it for a bit. And then it came back again, and I forgot about it again. But the thing is I didn't realize underneath all that, that first time I read that had really been like, oh my god, I'm not alone. You know, there's other people that are not afraid to speak up too. Like, because that was my thing, is I was so terrified to speak up. Like, I still spoke up, but I'm still terrified of it. You know, and so then all of a sudden I found a part of the world that speaks up about that, of what they've gone through, and I was excited, but it shocked the shit out of me. I mean, obviously, I must have known there were other people that had gone through it, but until I have like a lifeline to a group of people like that, you know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. This is just what's coming out. So then, you know, my brain, my conscious mind is so like stunned that my subconscious mind then is looking at what I've gone through, the way I felt about talking about it, and all that stuff, and all the fear, and what I went through, and how it was really not okay, and it wasn't my fault, and then just kind of like, it came right after the whole, like, before that, the one before that was about, realizing, well, no, that one's been going on for a long time. See, that's the thing too, sometimes it's years, right? Of, like, for me, I didn't ask to be born, and the fact that I was, like, brought in by two people, and then they dumped me off in the world to be handed off to strangers, and there's a small amount of people that changed my life and were beautiful, but the majority of them were evil and cruel, you know, and it just, it took me so long from, I don't even remember the initial point that I learned that. I don't remember it, but it's been quite a while, but, like, I can remember the different times it's come up, and the different ways it's come up, the different ways it's been said, the different ways it's been put, the different ways I've read it, heard it, felt it, and then as time went on, and I understood more and more, my subconscious was really kind of taking the information and understanding it and coming to a conclusion. And then as that happened, it started to come back into my life more. And the more I started to think about it, the more I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking true. And all of a sudden, I started to feel more confident within myself. And then, you know, especially that's been tying up into now this adoptee thing, and realized that I was literally bought. Someone paid money for me, and then treated me like trash, and then threw me out, returned me the year before I aged out. and it's just kind of ironic, you know, like, I was bought, sold, and returned as a human being. Except for the thing is, that last transaction, I lost my sister. You know, they only wanted one instead of two. And for years, that's made me so angry, but I thought it was my fault. I beat myself up for it, and I felt so guilty, like I was a horrible human being, because I didn't comply, and I didn't just sit there and let them fucking treat us like shit. And just, I couldn't. And so I was defective to them. And so they returned me. I guess I wasn't worth their money or whatever else. And I just don't care anymore. Like, I care in the sense of it was really shitty. But the thing is, like, it's not just me. There's plenty of other people that have been bought and sold under the term adopted. And it's disgusting. And the more I learn about these other people's stories, and I hear them speaking up about how wrong it is, and the fact that children are little being bought, and then it's an even bigger thing, because, like, so many people are buying babies, but the thing is, there's not enough babies being born in foster care to be adopted out. So then there's alternative options. And it's just so fucked. It's just absolutely fucked, and it's insane. And in that sense, I take that guilt and I turn it into power to speak about my experience, because the more you talk about it, the more people that may be able to find you who may have gone through the same thing. And, you know, it's so empowering, especially for feeling so alone for the majority of my life, and feeling like no one understood me. Hell, I didn't even understand myself. I thought I was, like, an enigma to myself. Like, I was so confused, because I was told I had to be one thing or another, but I couldn't have bits and pieces to my personality. Like, I couldn't like more than one art thing, you know. I had like 20 different art talents, and, you know, just these things that I love, and these things I love to do, but apparently it wasn't okay. Apparently I had to stick with one thing. And, and then on top of that, like, there's just so much to that and all that story of my life. And this is why I'm glad I have my podcast. This is why I love to sit down and talk. Like, it's an hour and 49 minutes of me talking and me just sitting here after my brains come to terms and understood a lot of these things. And so now I feel confident enough to speak about it, because not only am I thinking about it, not only has it become a part of my life, but it's a part of my personality now, and it's changed in me. It's made me feel stronger. It's made me release the guilt that's not mine. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be moments in the future that, sometimes it comes back, or there'll be something that reminds me of it. But now, instead of just soothing myself, I can also reinforce myself and remind myself of the past, and that honestly, that I was a fucking kid, at 10 turning 11, whether my say yes or no meant we can get adopted. I mean, I always viewed it like, like I had this idea in my head that I wanted us to get adopted. And I think I did. I think I truly did. I think I truly was excited. They had a dog. They were going to take me swimming. And, we never had a mom and dad, really. And I was excited. But, like, even that, like, I don't need to feel guilty for being excited for being adopted. I was 10 turning 11. And it wasn't until the adoption paperwork was finalized, I assume, of, like, me living there with my sister 4 hours away, that's when shit turned south. And being an adult now and going through my own abusive relationship and hearing about people that have gotten married, and it's not until they're married or they're pregnant that shit starts to happen, because you're locked in. It's a lot harder to leave. And, I look at being a little kid and I can understand that same type of thing, of what went on. And it's just sad and it's pathetic that people like that exist. It truly is, and I'm sorry if you have a soft spot for people like that. I mean, you didn't personally know them. I'm only speaking from my own experiences, and it's not a blanket statement for everyone who's ever done that. I have my own issues with people like that, and I have my own experiences, and I do not think it's okay to physically harm another human being, emotionally, mentally, physically. It's just not cool, man. Like, if you're both grown adults and you both understand the implications and the consequences of something, and if you both mutually agree, I think it should be okay. You know what I mean? I feel like as long as you're in the right position to make a sound decision and you're not being forced into it anyway, you should have the right to do what the fuck you want. If you and your buddies want to have a fucking all-out, like, fight match, and all of you consensually agree to it, go right ahead. But what I don't agree with is people who take advantage of their power and hurt others. Like, it should be just the same thing as rape, but I mean, see, that's a fucked up thing. Both of those things aren't even sorry. It's frustrating. The world's frustrating. But I think I should end this here because I'm about to fall down a rabbit hole. And I think I've fallen down quite a few already with you guys. I love you guys so much. I'm really appreciative of, all of you that take your time to listen. I really do hope that I can do more longer episodes like this. It's been a while and it's really nice. I still haven't figured out what kind of episode I'm gonna do for my birthday. Because, like, my birthday is the day I upload, so I'm thinking, I was doing part, like, 1 and 2 and 3, but it was kind of difficult for me because, like, I was starting it ahead of time. It was throwing me really up mentally for my whole scheduling on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So, I think I'll be recording it on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or just on one of those days. And I'm still not, I think it'll be like what I learned from my 24th year, kind of. It's kind of what I like to do mentally, but we'll see, honestly. I'm just right now hoping to make it past this full moon and these rage hormones, so I know I'll be fine, but it's a lot, so, but I love you guys so much. I have to use the bathroom anyways, so thank you. I will talk to you next time. Again, this is Saturday's April 16th, but I'm recording it Friday, April 15th. I love you guys. Bye. Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of Friday, April 16th episode. I actually wasn't planning on doing a part 2. But I just got back from the wharf and I had a really amazing time tonight. And I ran into this really cool lady and we were talking about everything, and we were talking about I brought up, like, lady conversation of periods and kind of what I was referencing in the first part of this episode, and I had an epiphany while talking to her, and it was really cool, and I'm so glad I got to thank her, and I'm so glad I got to experience it. So I was terrified. One of the reasons I was terrified that I couldn't have kids is the only recollection I had of my period was super painful from a teenager. Like, I was in bed for like a week straight, could barely move. And so, as I'm older and I've understood more about periods and different things like that, I was trying to think back up to pre-Depo shot and how it impacted my life and stuff like that, and my hormones, and I was trying to think of, like, what's my baseline period, before my body was tainted with hormones. What was my period like? And it was always super painful. And I was terrified of that. And I realized in my conversation this evening that, so I was talking about, like, for me now, since I've been off of birth control and now my body just rejects it, that the months that have more painful cramps and stuff like that is when I have more stress. And as I was talking to her about that, I had the epiphany that in the time when I had my period, I was in a really abusive, traumatic situation. And, if I have pain, really severe cramps, when I just even have a small amount of stress, it varies, depending on how stressed out I am, is how bad the cramps are, and really understanding that, and then thinking about my baseline. I was really traumatized, I was trapped, all these other things. And, it would make sense why, if there's a correlation between stress and really painful cramps for me, that my baseline, what I thought was my baseline when I was a teenager, was stress-induced severe cramps, because it does make sense of the environment I was in. I just got home, warming up my fingertips. They've been swelling up a lot lately. I'm hoping that it might just be a cold thing. I haven't had it in a while, so we'll see. Like, my thumbs and stuff are pretty, like, big and stuff, like, and I'm just starting to, like, be able to move my fingers when they swell up and stuff. It's kind of tough, but Yeah, I just wanted to hop on here because I had that really beautiful epiphany, and it just gave me even more peace of mind when it comes to my reproductive health and my ability to have children. And just on the topic of what I was talking about when I first started this episode, I thought this epiphany was really great. And the cool thing is too, because like I understood and I was picking up different pieces of knowledge over time regarding that, and so like sometimes it's just those little things, those epiphanies, that it's not so much that like it's like, you know, when I was talking about earlier regarding a first coming across that content kind of epiphany, it's more like the pieces are adding together and that makes sense, and that kind of epiphany. There's so many different types of epiphanies. I am hoping to one day go back and go through like all my different podcast episodes, and when I grow a little bit more, maybe in like 5 years, 10 years, like I want to go back and just kind of talk about, you know, my thought processes and, you know, how I kind of view myself, because, you know, if I had done my podcast like, you know, 4 years ago or something like that, like at this age, I would have loved to be able to, you know, like be able to like reference those episodes and when I was going through and, you know, my epiphanies I had, and then be able to see it from a more grown perspective. So I'm pretty excited that that's something you want to work towards in the future. But you know, maturity and growth takes time. So it is something that will come in the future. But yeah, I love you guys so much. I'm very proud of myself, and I'm very happy to have you all here, and I'm really grateful to that lady, and who knows, maybe we'll become swimming buddies. Okay guys, I hope you have a great Easter weekend. As I said, it is 9/13 on April 15th, and this will be uploaded Saturday, April 16th on the Libra full moon. Okay, bye.